Hello and welcome to my final Game of Wool video, where I'm going to be giving you my view of the whole series, what I thought of the concept, what did I think of the contestants, the judges, the whole format of the show. I'll give you all my opinions in this episode, so I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn from our website YarnAddict.co.uk. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. And please leave me a comment to tell me if you watched Game of Wool. Did you give up after episode 1? Do you never want to hear people talk about it again, or are you looking forward to series 2? Do you think there will be a series 2? And do you think the right person won? And what do you think they can improve? Let me know in the comments below. So I'm still in Norway when I'm filming this, which is why my background is different. I'm filming this about nearly 3:30. So sunset was it's 20 past now. Sunset was about 5 minutes ago, I think. But it's overcast today, so it's quite dark outside. So I've got to put a light on behind me because the room was really dark. But it's been dark all day today. I'm filming this on the 23rd of December. I've snuck away from the Christmas meal preparations to film this. So I've got to be quick because I might be missed soon. So let's get right into it. So I saw somebody post online the introduction that Tom Daly gave in the first episode. I haven't gone back to check if this was correct, but somebody posted this online. In my screenshot, I don't know who posted it. So I'm just going to read it and then we'll chat about it. So his introduction was as follows. A new generation of knitters are taking the world by storm. With just 2 needles or a hook, they are testing the limits of creativity, and 10 of the nation's most talented are joining me in Scotland to battle it out stitch by stitch to secure the ultimate crown. Each week they'll face 2 mind-blowing challenges right here in our magical yarn barn. The solo challenge will test the individual knitters' talent and skill, whilst the team challenge will see them collaborate on a scale never seen before. 10 knitters, 8 weeks, 16 spectacular challenges, and 1 ultimate champion. Welcome to the Game of Wool, Britain's best knitter. And I think the problem a lot of us have had with that series is right there in that introduction. Were they looking for Britain's best knitter, Britain's best knitwear designer, or Britain's best crocheter, or Britain's best multi-crafting knitter crocheter? Tom was quite often criticised for saying today's challenge is crochet, explaining the challenge, then he'd go, right, knitters, you can start now, or knitters, you have half an hour left to finish your crochet challenge. So they're mixing up knitting and crochet a lot. I will start by saying that I don't think those of us who are keen knitters or crocheters, us who are well and truly into knitting and crochet as a hobby, I don't think we are the target audience for this program. I think the target audience are the people who like to sit down on a Sunday evening and watch programs like the Bake Off, Great British Sewing Bee, the Pottery Throwdown, and Game of Wool. So the fact that they were mixing up knitting and crochet might be something that we get annoyed by. I don't think that really matters to most people. Most of us probably experience that people mix up crochet and knitting anyway. I knit Continental, so I hold the yarn in my left hand, and I frequently get people asking me if I'm crocheting, especially in the UK, because people may not have seen somebody knit with the yarn in their left hand, and they may know enough about knitting and crocheting to know that crocheters often hold their yarn in their left hand. So that's quite common. I quite often get asked if I'm crocheting when I'm knitting. Most people who just watch telly don't know the difference between knitting and crochet. They think it looks similar, we all use yarn. So I know knitters and crocheters get a bit annoyed when our hobbies are confused. To me, it doesn't really matter, and I don't think it's that big a deal. Yes, it's annoying. He could have said, right, crocheters, you have 10 minutes left, rather than knitters, you have 10 minutes left of your crochet challenge, but I don't think it's a big deal. The judges, they chose to have 2 older judges. They knew each other. They both look like they're about the same age. I saw just before I started filming this somewhere where it said that Di is 65 years old. I don't know if that's true or not. My guess would be that Sheila is a similar age or a little bit older, but I'm not sure. I'm not very good at judging people's ages. But they were both white, older, middle-class British women. It would have been nice to see a bit more diversity in the judging, and maybe a young judge and an older judge from different parts of the knitting and crochet world. Maybe specialist judges every week, like for example in the final when the individual project was a hat, maybe somebody like Woolly Wormhead, who specializes in making hats, would have been ideal guest judge. I mean, she may or may not have wanted to do it, but they had Janie Crow on for one episode because they said that was a specific crochet week, but they did crochet in nearly every episode, so I don't know. But I think maybe a little bit more of diversity in the judges, different ages, or maybe just one like head judge and different guest judges every time might have been a bit more interesting, I think. The presenter was Tom Daly. He is an Olympic diver, very successful. He's early 30s. He grew up in Plymouth, which is the nearest city to where I live in Cornwall. He had quite a tough teenage years, I think, because he became quite good at diving as quite a young teenager, I think. He used to be on our local news all the time. I remember them saying on the news that he was bullied quite a lot at school, so he was offered a place at a private school in Plymouth. And he also lost his dad as a teenager, so he's probably had quite a tough time as growing up in Plymouth as a sports person who's also gay. So I'm sure that caused him a lot of problems. And you can see there were times when the contestants were struggling, where he was quite sympathetic and kind of giving them a bit of a pep talk. So I did like that, because he'd obviously undergone a few difficult things in his life as well. The contestants were criticised a bit. There was criticism that some of them didn't seem to have enough experience. I think Meadow and Dipty were especially singled out for the impression I was given was that they were keener on crochet than knitting, and I don't think Dipty has a social media. I haven't seen her linked to anywhere on social media, but Meadow does, and I do follow her on social media now. Okay, I was called away from this recording to check if my husband had peeled enough potatoes. It is the day before Christmas Eve in Norway while I'm filming this, and we're celebrating Christmas Eve, so my husband is busy peeling potatoes. So I just had to check how many he had peeled. Yeah, so I was talking about the contestants. Meadow said on her social media that she has been knitting since she was a little child, and she's more experienced at knitting than crochet, even though the program kind of gave us all the impression that she was more into crochet than knitting. So I don't know. The problem with these programs is that they tell us what they want to tell us. She was also twisting her stitches, which she said on social media was deliberate and common in Northern Ireland. I don't know. Lydia and Holger were singled out in episode 7, and I'm just pointing this out as a example of the personal criticism that can come your way if you take part in a reality show, and one of the reasons why I probably wouldn't do it. So in episode 7, the semi-final, they were doing the group project together, which was a dress that was supposed to be fit for the catwalk. Now they decided amongst themselves, and they both posted stuff on social media afterwards to confirm this, that Lydia is the faster knitter and Holger is better at fitting and sewing. So she did most of the knitting and he did most of the sewing and fitting the dress to the model. And that they were happy with that division of work. And Holger pointed out that when they were knitting their go days, he did 1. In that time, Lydia done 2. So that's why they did it that way. But Lydia was singled out a few times. And I did read online somebody feeling that there was a lot of racist abuse towards her. So I don't know whether that's what they meant. I didn't read anything that I viewed as specifically racist, but I'm aware that I'm speaking about this as a white middle-aged woman, not as a young woman of colour. So if people of colour felt like some of the comments towards her was racist, then I'll take their word for it, because I don't have the same life experience as she does. But she was always quite expressive, and there were some like eye rolls and side eyes and things like that, and some comments that she made that could have been taken out of context and that were considered to be a bit passive aggressive. And I think a lot of Black women do say that they are very often talked about as being angry, and they don't like that kind of connotation, which fair enough. I don't have their life experience, so I don't know. But I read online that there was a clinical psychologist available during and after filming, and that the contestants made more use of that service during the airing of the show than during filming. And I think that's really, really sad, because obviously some of the personal criticism towards some of them must have been really upsetting. I noticed that there's a Game of Wool Facebook group where there was awful criticism every single week, and the contestants couldn't talk about it. They signed an NDA, so they were limited as to what they could talk about. But I did notice that Lydia's sister was quite often in the comments defending her sister. Whether that was the right decision or not, it's up to them to decide. I think if you're going to go on these shows, you need to have very thick skin, and I'm not saying that the criticism of Lydia was justified. I don't think it was. She seems lovely. She's a young woman. I think I've seen her at a show, but I don't know her. I think she was at a show I went to as a visitor. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so, because there are not that many indie dyeing companies in this country run by two Black sisters. So I think it was her and her sister, but I'm not 100% sure, because it's a few years ago. So I do think personal criticism of the judges and the contestants and their appearances, and especially the contestants, because they won't have had any media training. The judges have worked in the industry for a long time, so I don't know if they've done any TV work before, but they have worked in the industry for a long time, so I think that's a little bit different. I didn't look, when this was first talked about, I didn't look what the criteria was, but there were criticism of the fact that one of the contestants was an indie dyer, that's Lydia. One is a Savile Row designer, that's Holger. Some of them seemed a little bit less experienced, like Dipty and Meadow. And there was, like I've talked about, there was also the talk that Dipty and Meadow were more into crochet than knitting, which I don't know if that's true. I felt like from the beginning that they needed diversity, and I think they had that. They had people right from 20-ish to 60-ish. I'm not sure how old the oldest people were, and I don't want to get myself into trouble, but like my age or a little bit older, should we say. I don't think a middle-aged white woman would have won this. When I say middle-aged, I mean 50-plus white woman would have won this, because it would have been too stereotypical. So I don't think that Tracy and Stephanie had a chance of winning this, because I don't know how old they are. They might be younger than me. They might be older than me. I don't know. I'm 56. But because they would fit that more middle-aged white woman stereotype of knitters, I don't think they had a chance of winning it. I thought it was likely to be won by somebody who was young or a man, because I think that's who the winner would be. I know somebody who was on 2 reality shows. One was the one that was voted on by the public, I think, or maybe not, and the other one was a different kind of reality show. I don't want to say who it is or what the reality shows are, but she told me that, and another person who was in one of my workshops this autumn, who has, I think, son or daughter or something, who worked in reality television, said the same thing, that the producers will quite often decide who the winner will be from the beginning and kind of design the series for us to get like sympathy with that person and for that person to win. That these things are quite often decided in advance. How people are going to be portrayed is usually decided in advance. I don't know if that's true or not. We might want to pretend as audience that it's all random and the best, most talented person wins, but I don't think that's always true. Obviously, when you have a public vote, then that changes things, because the public can be unreliable, I guess. But I do think that a lot of people felt like Holger was the favourite from the start, and that's why he won. I think also the way that the whole series was edited. I think some of the criticism towards Lydia were comments that were possibly taken out of context, things that she said as a joke. She made a comment, I think it was in semi-final, about being the new Alison Hammond and presenting Game of Wool alongside Tom Daley. I don't think she meant that. I mean, maybe she wants to. Maybe she thought I might as well put it out there. Who knows? She may just have been having a joke with the crew, because this was episode 7, so they've obviously been filming together for several weeks, and she probably was going to know the crew and just had a joke with them, and they happened to put it in. My understanding is that they filmed each episode over 3 days. So they didn't sit down and knit for 12 hours in one go, that the 12 hours challenges were filmed over 3 days. So both challenges were filmed over 3 days, over 8 weeks, so 3 days each week. That's my understanding from what I've read online. So they must film hours and hours and hours of footage, and loads of eye rolls, side eyes, sighs, sarcastic comments and things like that. And then we don't know which order they edit that in together. So they might edit something in a particular scene that may have been said or done earlier in the day or the day before in a completely different context. So the way it appears on screen may not be the way it happened in real life. And it will be interesting to see what the contestants come out and say when they're allowed to speak about this. The other thing they were criticised for a lot was the fact that certain yarn companies, i.e. Rowan, Wool and the Gang, I think it is, and Serda, who are all three owned, as far as I understand, by the same private equity company, that they put out kits for some of their designs, and the contestants at the start at least were not compensated for that. I don't know about the kits from the final. Rowan put out kits for Holger and Elsa's hats, and Lydia has done her own. She was allowed to use her own hand-dyed yarn for her hats, so that's obviously promoting her hand-dyed yarn, which will be a great bonus. I would have thought it would, I hope, lead to a great increase in sales for her. And I'm sure there'll be Indida who'll say that's unfair, but good for her. You know, she's worked hard for 8 weeks to be a part of this show. She's left her young kids for 3 or 4 days every week, so good for her. I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with the knitters not being compensated. I assume that was made clear and that was in their contract to start with. But I think on the last kit the Rowan did, I haven't looked at the hat kits yet, but the previous ones I did, which I can't remember what it was now, but it did say that the contestants would get a certain percentage from each kit, and the rights to the pattern would revert to them after a certain period of time. So I think maybe for the next series, if there is one, that would be something that I would advise them to change, is that the contestants should get a cut of any kits that are made using their designs, because that's something that a big section of the crafting community is really, really important for us, especially those of us who work in the knitting industry or yarn industry. We find that really important. Another thing that was quite controversial was Tom Daley's outfits. He did not make his own outfits. They were made by a different designer every week. And he did a highlight on their Instagram every week, highlighting whose designs he was wearing. I guess it was great promo for those designers. Now, it wouldn't be the kind of thing I would make or wear, because I'm not a 31-year-old gay man who likes fashion. So I wouldn't be the target audience for that. I think he can get away with it. I think maybe a lot of people who watch the program, not their style, but it got people talking. It highlighted a few people. I don't have a problem with it. And yes, I would have had more of a problem if he was wearing his own designs and using it to promote his own patterns. I would have had a more problem with that. I thought that perhaps he was the reason this program started and this show was commissioned, that it was his kind of pet project, if you like. But I read something on Di Gilpin's Instagram, and I didn't screenshot this. I can't remember what it said, but it was something along the lines that we worked on this for several years. So maybe the idea came from Di and Sheila, and that's why they were judges. I don't know. I do think some of the challenges were good. Some of them were rubbish. Chunky wool, tank top in 12 hours, ridiculous. Some of the Cover the sofa, the deck chair, stupid. The kids' costumes, dressing up costumes, the dog coats, yes, a bit silly but doable. I thought the hats were doable. I thought the lace challenge to cover a lampshade was doable. I think they should have used something other than linen yarn, but I thought some of them were doable, some of them were ridiculous. I think more manageable projects that you can do in the time allocated would be better, and maybe some projects that just kind of is knitting like a square to test their skill, like colorwork, Intarsia, brioche, some more difficult skills. I think that would be a great idea. I'm not bothered about the fact that they mix knitting and crochet, but maybe not call it Britain's best knitter, because clearly it's not going to be Britain's best knitter. Just like the person who wins the sewing bee, it's not going to be Britain's best. I think they say amateur sewer, but it's not going to be, is it? A lot of people are angry about the fact that they're using a lot of design, but I think they do that on the sewing bee as well. The sewing bee, they have to design their own stuff in some of the challenges, don't they? And they have recycling challenges, which you have to use design skills as well. So I think that's fine. A lot of knitters do design their own stuff. It's not that difficult, to be quite honest. And I think most of the design challenges they had warning of in advance and could prepare stuff in advance. That was obvious because they get straight into the knitting. Normally you'd spend a couple hours working out all the maths and everything, but they got straight into the knitting. So I think that was obvious. Overall, I like the program. Yes, it has a lot of faults, but it's knitting and crochet on primetime television on Channel 4 on a Sunday evening, and I think that's something we should celebrate and will hopefully be positive for the industry as a whole. Let me know what you thought of it. I haven't seen any talk about a series 2 yet, so I don't know whether that's happening or not. Hopefully the organizers or the producers will take on some of the criticism that's been talked about online and change it a bit for season 2, maybe new judges and some different challenges. Let me know if you would apply if there is season 2, and let me know your views on it overall. Did you watch it? Did you not watch it? Do you like it? Will you watch series 2 if there is one? Let me know in the comments below. Did any people in your life that don't knit or crochet, did they like it? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. I will see you next time.